Our family seemed ideal on paper. My name is Lily Mitchell. Mom took great pride in her position at the tax service. She'd come home every evening with her briefcase full of paperwork, talking about promotions and pension plans. Dad worked for the city administration, but he never truly liked it. His entrepreneurial ideas would spill out on napkins during dinner. "Think about it, Sarah," he'd say with excitement gleaming in his eyes. "A complete network of niche retailers." Mom would cut him off before he could finish. "We have job security and good benefits, James. Why isn't that enough for you?" Back then, I didn't understand their arguments. To me, Dad's dreams seemed like fairy tales full of possibility. But Mom would just press her lips together and shake her head. Then came that night. While I played with my dolls, I heard Mom's voice piercing through the walls. "Oh, you got a loan. How irresponsible." Her voice trembled with anger. "What's the price, James?" "Please, I've done the research," Dad pleaded. "Do you even understand? Do you want us homeless?" I tiptoed to my door, peeking through a small crack to see Mom's face flushed with anger as she paced. "No matter how low you go, James, I won't follow you." The next morning, Dad was gone. Mom told me he'd started a business in a different city. He hadn't even said goodbye. Weeks turned into months. I knew Dad's business was succeeding from the way Mom looked at the alimony checks, her face twisted with a mixture of anger and resentment, but he never reached out to me. Mom threw herself even deeper into her work. With longer hours at the office, she hired Elena, a babysitter, to take care of me. "Your mother's working hard for you," Elena would explain whenever I asked why Mom was never home. But I knew better. Mom was avoiding me, the one who'd attest to Dad's success. She preferred her spreadsheets over facing me, his daughter. Sometimes I overheard her on the phone with friends. He made it work, but at what cost? He left his own daughter behind. Mom hadn't just pushed Dad away. She'd chosen stability over the unpredictability of his ambitions. And so I was caught in the middle of their broken marriage, watching as Dad built his empire from afar and Mom became even more isolated. In our otherwise colorless existence, Grandma Marion was the splash of color. Her warmth and energy filled the house whenever she visited, but even her presence sparked tension. "Sarah, look around," Grandma would say, gesturing to our empty house. "What have you done to this family? James is thriving, and you've driven everyone away. Are you proud?" "Mom, you have no right to judge my life choices." Mom's voice would cut like glass. "Stay out of my business." During these confrontations, I'd hide in my room, hearing every word. Grandma would sometimes come to me afterward, her eyes sad, but her smile warm. When I turned 7, Grandma enrolled me in Riverside Academy, a private school she thought would give me better opportunities. I don't think Mom minded. She was probably glad I'd be out of the house longer. As I grew older, I began to understand why Mom kept her distance. Anytime I showed enthusiasm for school or took the lead on a project, she'd give me that distant look. I was too much like my father, the man who had defied her and succeeded. Mom provided for me a roof, food, clean clothes, but there were no goodnight kisses, no hugs, no, "I love you." She took vacations and weekend trips with her colleagues, leaving me with Elena or Grandma. This felt normal to me until I went to Katie's birthday party. At one point, Katie accidentally spilled her juice, and I watched in shock as her mother rushed over laughing. "Are you okay, sweetheart?" she asked, hugging Katie and cleaning the mess. She kissed Katie on the forehead, telling her she loved her. I stood there like an anthropologist observing a foreign culture, stunned by this casual display of affection. That night, lying in bed, I imagined what it would be like to have a mother who hugged me, kissed me goodnight, who simply wanted to be with me. Things briefly changed when Mom started dating Robert. Every time he visited, he'd bring me small gifts, a toy, some chocolates. He seemed genuinely interested in my stories from school, laughing at my jokes. When they announced their engagement, I allowed myself to hope for a family like Katie's. But nothing changed. After the wedding, Mom remained as distant as ever. Then came the news of her pregnancy. "You're going to have a little sister," Robert announced with a wide smile. "Isn't that exciting?" Sophie was born when I was 8. The moment Mom held her, I saw her transform, but only for Sophie. She showered her with kisses, cuddled her endlessly, basking in the warmth she'd never shown me. Sophie got an excess of everything I'd been lacking my whole life. As Mom nuzzled Sophie's neck, she would remark, "Look at her tiny fingers. Aren't they perfect?" Standing in the doorway of the nursery, I would observe Mom lullaby singing Sophie to sleep, a sound I had never heard before. There were moments when the agony in my chest was unbearable. Her passion for Sophie begs the question, why not me? Is it because Sophie wasn't biologically related to Dad? Just because she failed to bring Mom's attention to her error? The last nail in the coffin was when Mom left her work to raise Sophie full-time. Here was a woman who rarely gave me any attention before, and now she was devoting her whole day to my half-sister. Still, she never had a moment to herself for me, no matter how much time she spent at home. She would continue, "Ella, your grandma is coming to get you," without raising her gaze from Sophie. Need to focus on the baby. The amount of time I spent at Grandma's place increased. There were moments when I would sob into my pillow as I questioned my mental health. For some reason, I just wasn't nice enough. Why doesn't Mom love me like she loves Sophie? A day came when I had to ask Grandma. Her voice was heavy with emotion as Grandma drew me near. "Oh, darling, it's true that some hurts that grown-ups carry about are unrelated to the ones they do harm to. It is unfair that your mother is taking her frustrations with your father out on you." It was like navigating a minefield in the years after Sophie was born. It was always a mystery when the next bomb would go off. When Sophie reached an age when she could comprehend the dynamics of her family, she had already mastered the art of terrifying accuracy and using them to her advantage. When I was 14 years old, the occurrences began to happen more frequently. My scientific project lay shredded on my desk when I woke up one morning. Unfortunately, she had already left the room by the time I wanted to admonish the mischievous little girl. "Mom," with tears falling from her eyes, Sophie sprinted downstairs. "Lily destroyed my new dollhouse because she was jealous that Daddy bought it for me." "That is not accurate. Sophie, I spent the entire evening studying. Honesty is key." Looking at me, Mom's face became more stern. "Why is it that you can't help but place the blame on your sister every time? Leave the room. A 2-week suspension is in order." This became the norm for us. No matter what, Sophie would destroy it, stow Mom's jewels in my rucksack, or secretly deposit Robert's misplaced funds in my chamber. I tried to explain myself every time, but nobody would listen. "Mom, I saw her take your bracelet," Sophie would tell her mother, her voice betraying her genuine worry. "I didn't want to tell, but she's been stealing things." Robert would give me that disgusted expression. She was untrustworthy, and I knew it. Just like their father, both of them are deeply dishonest. I resisted at first. I would yell, weep, and implore them to believe me. Over time, though, I realized that protecting myself really made everything worse. As Sophie watched me get grounded, sent to my room, or had my allowance taken away, she watched with a slight grin on her face. While Robert and Mom were in bed, conversing one night, I overheard them. Their words floated in through the open door as I paused to gather up some washing in the hallway. "Why don't we just send her to live with your mother?" As Robert was explaining, "She's nothing but trouble." "Are you kidding?" Mother frowned. "Monthly, James pays alimony totaling $33,000. As a result, I am able to remain at home and take care of Sophie. That money will stop when Lily becomes 18. Until then, she must remain here." As I let go of the washing basket, the garments tumbled to the floor. Things started to fall into place at that point. She treated me more like a meal ticket than a kid. She kept me around just for the money from my dad. I laid in bed that night and plotted my move. My plan was to achieve outstanding grades, get into a prestigious university, and then leave this house for good. In an effort to spend as little time as possible at home, I began to spend more time at the library and to take more classes. See how she's behaving all prim and proper while she studies. Sophie would troll. You think you're better than us. I had lost interest, though. They were merely keeping track of the days until I could finally escape with every insult, false charge, and punishment. I took a page out of a prisoner's schedule and marked off the days till graduation on my calendar. I took my mother's expensive perfume quietly when Sophie took it and stashed the empty bottle in my room. I did not even attempt to protect myself when she stole money from Robert's wallet and stashed it in my coat pocket. In my mind, I had already left, counting down the days until I could make it true, so their comments couldn't harm me anymore. All the pieces fell into place on a Tuesday around the end of March in my senior year. The pungent odor of smoke assaulted my senses the second I opened our front door. Every beat ceased. I learned the hard way that anything might happen at any second while living here. I dashed to the basement in pursuit of the odor. My blood froze at the sight that met my eyes. In the corner, hunched over among the charred remains of newspapers and cardboard boxes, Sophie found herself. The small wildfire she had started was already licking at the wooden storage shelves, which was a very bad sign. "Sophie, are you insane?" I leaped forward while screaming, "You'll burn the house down." Sprang for her shoulders and wrenched her away from the flames, my mind racing. It was all over in an instant. She staggered backward, lost her footing, and extended her arm to save herself. The subsequent horrifying crack will remain with me always. "Ah!" As Sophie clenched her arm, her scream echoed around the room. "I was hurt by you. It was intentional, wasn't it?" As I frantically attempted to put out the residual flames, my hands trembling, I retrieved my phone and dialed Mom's number. "Mom, something went wrong. It hurts Sophie. Return home immediately." Following then, everything was a haze. Mom sprinted through the door, glanced at Sophie as she held her arm, and whisked her away to the emergency room without batting an eye. As the odor of smoke lingered on my clothing, I patiently waited for the axe to fall while seated on the stairs. Opposite Mom's frozen expression was Sophie's cast-bound arm when they reappeared many hours later. She stormed into my room and began rummaging through my belongings, tossing them into trash bags, and then she remained silent. "Please, Mom, allow me to explain," I pleaded. "Sophie was in the basement, playing with fire. I was attempting to rescue her. The one I can show you is—" "She told me everything?" Mom interrupted me, her voice quivering with anger. "You were so envious of her new school bag that you shoved her down the stairs. What you've been saying about her for weeks on end." "Oh, really? How? What on earth?" "It was on fire." With tears falling from her eyes, Sophie stood at the threshold of the room. "Give it up. You deliberately caused me pain. For as long as I can remember, you've despised me." "Leave," Mom said, pulling the suitcases toward the entrance. "Leave my house now, or I will contact the authorities to have you arrested for assault. In your opinion, who will they believe?" I could feel the veins in my face dripping dry. She had a point. Who would believe me when I told you about the events of the past that Sophie had meticulously planned? "I do need money as well," Mom said while laughing vehemently. "What is it? Money? Medical expenses for Sophie will be covered by the alimony your father has agreed to pay. And please, under no circumstances, approach him with a falsehood. I will report this assault to the police if you say anything." What kind of impression would that give to prospective students? A poisonous aura of danger lingered in the air. Grasping my coat and one of the trash bags that held my possessions, I quavered in my palms. The remainder of my belongings were strewn across our front yard like storm debris. With the luggage trailing behind me, I stumbled my way to Grandma's house. As soon as she opened the door, a glance at my face conveyed all the necessary information. Studying and applying to colleges took up much of the following few months. On the big day of graduation, I sat with my fellow students and watched the procession go by. In spite of everything, I held out hope that I may see Mom's face among the spectators. I received my diploma with honors, but no one else was there save my proud grandma. My perseverance and strong academic performance allowed me to secure a full scholarship to attend the business school at State University. For 4 years, I was able to be myself and succeed without fear of retaliation or false allegations. My career in marketing began soon after I earned my bachelor's degree in business management. My escape from the misery of my childhood home deepened with each passing year as the 8 years whizzed by. Most significantly, I was at peace, had a prosperous profession, and lived in my own apartment. Despite my many challenges, my only relative, Grandma, was always there for me. Finally, I crossed paths with David. He splattered his latte all over me and me too as we literally bumped into each other at a coffee establishment. We were too embarrassed to get mad. Instead, we laughed it off. "Let me buy you a replacement coffee," offered the man, "and maybe a new blouse." After meeting over coffee, we went out to dinner, which sparked more dates, and before we knew it, we were engaged and making wedding plans. Grandma, who wept joyful tears the whole ceremony, was the only other person present besides us and the judge. Under her breath, she muttered, "You deserve this happiness, sweetheart," as we danced the mother-daughter routine that she had insisted. David was the proud owner of a thriving fast food franchise that extended all over the city. During dinner one night, he brought up the fact that he was struggling with supply chain management. An expert in analysis, he remarked, "Would you be open to joining me in the office? To keep an eye on our purchases, I could use the help of someone I trust." That opportunity was too good to pass up. At last, I could put my business acumen to work for a family company, ideally a strong one, based on mutual respect and trust. Patterns began to emerge within a few months of delving into the papers. There were a number of vendors who routinely overcharged and provided low-quality goods. Fresh Fields Produce stood out among the vendors. I made the comment, "David, look at these numbers," as I spread out reports across our dining table one evening. For vegetables that is barely passable, Fresh Fields has been charging us 40% more than market value. Additionally, have a look at these delivery records. Our inventory management is negatively impacted by their constant tardiness. David gave the reports his full attention. "My darling, this is absolutely stunning. The narrowness of our profit margins is understandable. I am immediately ending their contract." I explained, "I've already researched some alternatives," and then I pulled out additional paperwork. These 3 companies have better prices and quality ratings. A wave of pride washed over me as I witnessed David launch into the process of contacting potential new suppliers, collaborating, having faith in one another, and creating something substantial. This was the essence of a genuine partnership. I was in the middle of checking contracts with suppliers when my phone started buzzing from an unfamiliar number. I hesitated for a moment before responding. "Hello, Ella, it's Sophie." The grip on the phone grew tighter in my hand. After a decade of remaining silent, "This is it." "What do you want?" I spoke in a businesslike, impartial tone. "Our sister's unable to keep up. We should have coffee and chat because there's a lot on our minds." "No, that was a strong and conclusive word. Say what you need to say." Suddenly, Sophie's voice lost its artificial sweetness, and there was a pause. "All right. A major error is on the horizon for your hubby. My fiancé owns a business called Fresh Fields Produce." Everything fit together with a gruesome precision. "After 3 months of planning, Marcus and I will tie the knot," Sophie announced. We have been meticulously arranging every detail of this spectacular wedding, the location, the dress, the catering, for months. However, the profits from your husband's restaurant business are essential for covering the costs. The news seems so unbelievable to me. Are you telling me you've been deliberately overcharging our restaurants to fund your wedding? Stop being so arrogant, Sophie said with a snarl. Marcus merely made minor adjustments to the prices. Ella, this is essential. Reassure David that we should continue with our contract. Adjusted the prices? My voice was getting louder. Some of the stuff was almost spoiled when it came, and you're charging 40% more than the market rate for it. You are deceiving us. It's just business, my dear. You owe me money for all you did anyway. Everything I did? I interrupted her. So you're referring to the time you started a fire in the basement, which led to my eviction, or the years you secretly stored stolen goods in my room? Please just speak with David, Sophie insisted. Tell him to keep our contract. Or what? I dared to dream. Are you going to fabricate another story about me? No longer am I that timid little girl, Sophie. Stop trying to con my husband's business out of money for your fairy tale wedding. I won't assist you. Come up with a different plan to finance your cathedral. After saying, "You'll regret this," she spit out and severed the call. The next time my phone rang was 20 minutes later. She began, "Mom," without introduction. "Wow, you're really bold. In light of all that this family has accomplished for you?" I literally chuckled. Relatives? Check. Which one of your relatives? The one who falsely accused me of stealing. That person who dumped my dirty laundry into trash bags and left me on the street. Your sister is finally getting married and happy, and you're attempting to spoil everything. You ungrateful little. In what ways are you loyal? Loyalty. This time my voice was steady. Listen, Mom, I want to talk to you about loyalty. When I needed a mother, where were you, faithful and supportive? While Sophie was trying to frame me for stealing. How about that time I was sound asleep on Grandma's couch, and you decided to trust another fib from Sophie? You broke her arm. Mom yelled loudly. She was saved from certain death by my actions. In the basement, she was tinkering with flames. On the other hand, was that helpful detail lost on you? The truth, though, was never your desire, was it? You were only looking for reasons to despise me because I brought up memories of your dad. Don't you dare. No, you don't dare. I interrupted her. Nobody has the right to expect anything from me. Grandma is the only relative I have who truly cares for me. If Sophie and her fiancé are sincere, they will figure out a means to pay for the wedding. I refuse to stand by while they plunder my husband's company. I ended the call after that. I remember sitting in the living room with David that night, my hands encircling a cup of lukewarm tea. I filled him in on all the details of Sophie and Marcus's plan to overcharge our businesses in order to pay for their extravagant wedding. As he listened intently, David's expression darkened with each nuance. He leaned over and grabbed my hands as soon as I was done. My darling, simply terminating their contract won't do. I'm going to make sure that all of the local eatery owners are aware of what Fresh Fields Produce does for a living. Are you sure? Excuse me, I inquired. They'll probably try to cause trouble. Affirm, let them try, came from David. They are engaging in fraud, not only unethical behavior. My business and my wife are both things that I fiercely guard. Throughout the subsequent 7 days, David disseminated the paperwork I had collected to other business owners in his network who own restaurants. There was an enormous and rapid reaction. Restaurants started terminating their agreements with Fresh Fields Produce one by one. Marcus's standing in the field plummeted. Mom called again shortly after. "This is getting out of hand," she growled. "You're destroying your sister's future out of spite." "Mother, no. That was caused by their own deceit." Threatening. "Well, let's see how you like being cut off completely." She spoke out. "This evening, I will be speaking with your grandma. Because of what you've done, you will not receive any inheritance." To be honest, I grinned. Just do it. Give Grandma a call. Everything was previously relayed to her last week. The other end of the line was silent. When I went on to say, "That's right, your threats, Sophie's fiancé's swindle, and their attempted blackmail were all brought up in my conversation with her. Plus, guess what? Already she has revised her will. I am her only descendant. Regarding the money, I couldn't care less. I am capable of creating my own future without taking advantage of anybody, unlike certain people." Before hanging up, Mom responded with a series of profanities. Time elapsed. I found out that Sophie's ideal wedding had been postponed via word of mouth. Nothing fancy like a cathedral, a designer clothing, or gourmet food. Instead, a little ceremony was held in City Hall between her and Marcus. Her big day and her fiancé's business were both ruined, and she apparently blamed me for it. Yet calmness was all I experienced. Defeating their deception was a first for me. I had never done it before. I was no longer swayed by their threats. Grandma had supper with us last week. She gave me a tight squeeze while we watched the sun go down in our garden. "You know, Ella," she remarked, "there are instances when the family into which you are born may not always be the greatest fit. In this place, you have created something very lovely, a faithful marriage, a trustworthy company, and a life of honesty. How proud I am of you." In spite of, or perhaps because of, the obstacles they had placed in my path, I stood here, taking stock of my life and the things I had created. Although Sophie and Mom may hold me responsible for their shortcomings, I am aware of the reality, the decisions they made, the lies they told, and the brutality they displayed ultimately led to their demise. My true family, founded on love, trust, and honesty, is now here. It's been my lifelong dream, and they will never be able to strip me of that.
Hey, I'm Jennifer, 25, and living in this tiny town where everyone knows your business before you do. I'm an artist, or at least trying to be one. Most days, I'm juggling my part-time job at the local cafe and my real passion, painting. Life's simple here, or so I thought. My boyfriend, Mike, is the real deal, supportive, kind, and he even likes my odd abstract art. Then there's my mom, Sandra. She has strong opinions about how I should live my life. Everything changed the day I found out I was pregnant. I'd been feeling off, so I took a test, and when those two lines showed up, my heart nearly stopped. "Mike, I need to tell you something," I said, voice shaking. He looked at me, concerned, and I handed him the test. His eyes went wide before a huge grin spread across his face. Then, out of nowhere, he dropped to one knee and pulled out a ring. "Jennifer, I've been waiting for the right moment. I guess life just gave us one. Will you marry me?" I was laughing and crying at the same time. "Yes, you big goof." Telling my mom was another story. At Sunday dinner, I just blurted it out. "Mom, I'm pregnant." She froze, fork halfway to her mouth. "You're what?" "Pregnant. Mike and I are getting married." She set her fork down slowly. "Jennifer, honey, are you sure about this?" "You're so young. There are options." "We're keeping the baby, Mom." End of discussion. From that moment on, it was like living with a ticking time bomb. She started showing up unannounced, rearranging my apartment, buying baby items I hadn't asked for. "Mom, I can handle this," I'd say, but she'd just smile, saying, "Oh, sweetie, you don't know the first thing about raising a baby." As weeks went by, she got more intense, calling at all hours, insisting on attending every doctor's appointment. One night, I overheard her on the phone, whispering, "Yes, everything's going according to plan." Jennifer doesn't suspect a thing. A chill ran down my spine. I tried to shake it off, focusing on the excitement of becoming a mom, but I couldn't ignore the growing sense that something was wrong. Mike noticed it too. "Your mom's been acting strange lately," he said one night as we cuddled on the couch. I wanted to believe she was just excited to be a grandma. But deep down, I knew something wasn't right. Then, one Tuesday, the contractions started. Mike was away on a work trip and I was alone panicking. I called my mom. "I think the baby's coming," I gasped. She was there in record time, practically shoving me into her car. "We don't have time to call Mike. I'll handle everything," she said. At the hospital, the world became a blur of pain and fear. "Where's Mike?" I panted. "Focus on pushing, honey." "I'm here," she replied. After what felt like hours, I finally heard a tiny cry, my baby girl. But before I could hold her, everything went black. I woke up groggy, with Mom sitting beside my bed, her eyes red-rimmed. "Jennifer, honey, there were complications." My heart clenched. "Where's my baby?" Her voice cracked. "I'm so sorry, sweetie. She didn't make it." My world shattered. I screamed, cried, and begged for it to be a lie. But Mom just held me, whispering apologies. Mike rushed back as soon as he heard. We grieved together, broken. "I never even got to hold her," I whispered. As the days blurred, a fog of grief and pain settled over me. But slowly, things started to feel off. "Mom, did you take any pictures of her?" I asked one day. She hesitated. "Oh, honey, I was too distraught. It didn't cross my mind." But hadn't she said before that she had? Mike noticed it too. "Jennifer, something's not adding up," he said, looking concerned. "The hospital says they have no record of a death certificate." A spark of hope flickered in my chest, tiny but persistent. Then one night, I overheard Mom on the phone again. "Everything's fine. She doesn't suspect a thing. The baby's healthy as can be. Don't worry, I've got it all under control." My blood ran cold. "Mike," I whispered that night, I think my mom's hiding something about the baby." He squeezed my hand. "We'll figure this out, Jennifer, I promise." The grief was slowly being replaced by a burning anger. If my baby was out there, I was going to find her, no matter what. One day, while Mom was out at her weekly book club, I snuck into her house, my heart pounding. I searched each room, the scent of her lavender candles thick in the air. In a spare closet, I found a box tucked behind old coats. My hands shook as I pulled it out. Inside were baby clothes still with tags, soft toys I'd never seen, and a birth certificate. My breath caught as I read the name. Lily Thompson, my mother's last name. "What are you doing?" I whirled around, nearly dropping the certificate. Mom stood in the doorway, face pale, eyes wide with shock, and was that fear. "Mom, what is this?" "Who's Lily?" My voice cracked. "Jennifer, honey, you're not well. You're imagining things." She took a step toward me, hands outstretched as if she were calming a wild animal. "Jennifer, honey," she murmured, voice soothing. "You need help. The grief, it's making you delusional. Let me call Dr. Parker." "Don't lie to me." I clutched the birth certificate tighter, my knuckles white. "Is my baby alive? Tell me the truth." In a sudden, desperate move, she lunged forward, trying to snatch the certificate from my hands. I yanked it away, stumbling backward. "Jennifer, please. Let's talk about this. You're not well." Ignoring her, I bolted down the stairs, my mind reeling. The walls seemed to close in as I scrambled outside, barely holding myself together. I drove home in a haze, tears blurring my vision. When I finally walked in, Mike was waiting, concern etched across his face. I told him everything. He listened, his expression growing darker as I showed him the birth certificate, my hands still shaking. "We need proof, solid proof," he said, pulling me into his arms. "I know a private investigator. He's discreet, thorough. We'll get to the bottom of this." The next few weeks were torture, filled with anxious waiting and attempts to act normal around Mom. Every time my phone rang, my heart leaped, hoping it was news from the PI. To cope, I threw myself into painting, pouring out the storm inside onto dark, swirling canvases. Then finally, the PI called. I put him on speaker and Mike and I held our breath. "We found her," he said, his voice crackling through the line. "Your mother's been raising your daughter in Millbrook, the next town over. She's enrolled in daycare there, under the name Lily Thompson." My world tilted. My baby was alive. My mother had stolen her. The room spun as I clutched the edge of the table, steadying myself. Mike wrapped his arms around me as I broke down, his own eyes glistening with tears. "How could she do this? My own mother." "We'll get her back," Mike promised fiercely, holding me close. "We'll make this right, Jennifer. I swear it." We met with a lawyer the next day, gathering every piece of evidence we had. Each day became a struggle to keep calm, not to confront Mom, not to shout the truth in her face when she called to check in. The irony of her concerned act twisted my stomach. Then, one night, leaving the art studio late, I spotted her in the parking lot. She was on the phone, pacing by her car, oblivious to me hiding in the shadows. "The adoption papers are almost ready," she whispered. "Soon, Lily will be legally mine. No one will be able to take her away." Rage boiled inside me, so fierce it was blinding. I ducked behind a car and recorded her conversation on my phone. More evidence. Later that night, Mike and I sat down with our lawyer and the PI, crafting a plan to confront her, record her confession, and bring Lily home. The authorities would be ready to intervene. On the day of the sting, my heart hammered as Mike and I drove to Mom's secret apartment, a detective waiting nearby. Mike reached over and squeezed my hand. "Remember the plan. Get her to confess. Don't lie on that we're recording." I nodded, steeling myself. Today this would end. One way or another, I was getting my daughter back. The weight of my mother's betrayal pressed down on me, suffocating. She'd stolen my child, watched me grieve, lied to my face for months. But under the fury and pain was a fierce hope. I was going to bring my daughter home. As we knocked on her door, I braced myself. When she opened it and saw us, her face fell. "Jennifer, what are you doing here?" "We know, Mom," I said, my voice cold. "About Lily, about everything." Her eyes darted around. "I don't know what you're talking about." "Cut the crap," Mike snapped. "We know you faked the baby's death." Mom's expression crumbled, but her eyes flashed with defiance. "I did it for you, Jennifer. You weren't ready to be a mother. So you stole my child?" My voice shook with barely controlled rage. "I protected her. I gave her a better life than you ever could. By lying, by breaking my heart." Mom's voice grew desperate, attempting to justify herself. A small cry came from the room, and my heart stopped. "Lily." I pushed past Mom, following the sound. There she was, my baby girl, standing in a playpen, her big eyes wide with curiosity. Tears blurred my vision as I scooped her up, holding her close. She didn't know me, not really, but she didn't cry. Somehow she knew. "Jennifer, please," Mom said, her voice desperate. "I was only thinking of Lily." I turned to her, holding my daughter tightly. "No, you were thinking of yourself. This is over, Mom. For good." The police arrived, and as they led her away, pleading and crying, I felt nothing but relief. The months that followed were a whirlwind of court hearings and adapting to life with Lily. Mom faced charges of kidnapping and fraud, and when I testified, my voice was strong as I recounted her betrayal. Slowly, Lily grew to trust us, her first mama, to me a beautiful surprise that left me in tears. 2 years later, our lives had transformed completely. Mike, Lily, and I had become a real family. Mom was serving time, shunned by everyone who once knew her. My art took off, fueled by my journey. I painted stories of loss, hope, and redemption, and people connected with the raw emotions that filled my work. One sunny afternoon, I watched Lily play in our backyard, her laughter echoing in the warm air. Mike came up behind me, wrapping his arms around my waist. "Penny for your thoughts." I smiled, resting my head against him, just thinking about how close we came to losing all this. "But we didn't," he reminded me, squeezing my hand. "We fought, and we won." Lily came running over, curls bouncing, holding up a small fistful of dandelions. "Mama, Papa, look." As I knelt to admire her bouquet, a deep peace settled over me. We'd been through so much, but we had come out stronger. I'd learned to trust myself, to fight for what mattered. Mom's betrayal would always leave a scar, but looking at my beautiful daughter, I knew every painful moment had been worth it. We were whole, we were together, and nothing could ever tear us apart again. I'm Olivia, 24, and knee-deep in my computer science master's at this prestigious university, juggling a part-time gig at a tech startup. Sounds impressive, right? Well, it would be if I weren't dealing with my personal nightmare at home. Karen, my stepmom from hell. It's 2 a.m., and I'm in the zone, finalizing my thesis when Karen barrels into my room. "Olivia, what are you doing up at this ungodly hour? Turn off that computer and go to bed." I clench my jaw, trying to keep cool. "Karen, I've told you, this thesis is due next week. I need to finish it." She rolls her eyes with a drama that could win an award. Always with the excuses. "Just admit it. You're using this thesis as an excuse to stay up all night, probably chatting with boys online. Before I can retort, my dad appears, looking groggy. What's all the commotion? He asks, rubbing his eyes. Karen immediately flips on her crocodile tears. John, I'm just so worried about Olivia. She's up all night on that computer. It's unhealthy. Dad's face softens with concern. Honey, maybe you should get some rest. Dad, please, I plead. This is really important. I'm so close to finishing. With a reluctant nod, he tells me to take it easy and heads back to bed. Karen shoots me a glare that could curdle milk, but I shake it off and get back to work. The next day, I'm a zombie at the startup. My boss pulls me aside, noticing my state. Rough night, Olivia. I nod, stifling a yawn. Yeah, thesis crunch time. He chuckles sympathetically. Been there. Why don't you take the afternoon off and get some rest? Grateful, I head home early, only to find Karen snooping through my things. What are you doing in my room? I demand. She jumps, feigning innocence. Oh, Olivia. Didn't expect you home so early. Got fired from your little job? Gritting my teeth, I say no, my boss gave me the afternoon off to rest. She sniffs, unimpressed. How convenient. Well, don't let me stop you from your precious rest. Although a little hard work never hurt anyone. I collapse onto my bed, frustration boiling inside me. Later, my phone buzzes. It's Tasha, my best friend. Girl, where are you? We're supposed to meet for coffee. Rain check. I text back, sighing. Karen drama again. She replies, need me to accidentally spill coffee on her? I chuckle. Tempting, but I'll pass. I need my energy for the thesis battle. As I hang up, I hear Karen's shrill voice calling my dad. Ready for another night of her trying to turn him against me. I bury my head under my pillow, wondering how I'll survive until graduation. But I'm Olivia Parker. I've come too far to let her derail my dreams. Bring it on, step monster. The next morning, I wake up, heart racing. Today is thesis submission day. I reach for my laptop, only to feel nothing but air. Panic surges as I tear through my room. Where is it? I race downstairs, nearly colliding with my dad. Dad, my laptop's gone. He frowns. Let's not panic, we'll find it. We search the entire house, and Karen finally saunters in, looking annoyingly calm. What's all the fuss? She asks, her tone dripping with feigned innocence. Olivia's laptop is missing, Dad explains. Karen's eyes widen with mock concern. Oh dear. Are you sure you didn't misplace it, sweetie? You have been so stressed lately. I grit my teeth. I know exactly where I left it. Dad checks his watch. I'm sorry, Liv, but I have to run. We'll keep looking later, okay? As he leaves, Karen lounges on the couch, scrolling on her phone. Don't you have a thesis to submit? Clock's ticking. I want to scream, but instead, I email my professor, explaining the situation. Hours pass, and then my phone rings. Miss Parker, says the university admin's voice on the line. We received a call from your stepmother. She claims you're using a missing laptop as an excuse for not completing your thesis and that you're too lazy to finish. What? That's not true, I stammer, my blood boiling. We'll need to discuss this further, the voice says before hanging up, leaving me in shock. I storm into the living room where Karen sits, smirking. You called the university? How could you? She blinks, pretending innocence. I'm sure I don't know what you're talking about. Cut the crap, Karen. Why are you doing this? She finally drops the act, her eyes flashing. You think you're so smart with your fancy degree and your startup job? Well, guess what? Sometimes life isn't fair. You won't get away with this, I say, seething. She laughs coldly. Good luck. It's your word against mine. Who do you think they'll believe? As she walks away, I grab my phone and dial Tasha. Tash, I need your help. It's time to take Karen down. Later, Tasha, my friend Mike, and I huddle in my room, plotting our sting operation. So let me get this straight, Mike says, setting up a tiny hidden camera. Karen hid your laptop and called the university to frame you for not finishing your thesis. Exactly, I say. And now, I'm facing academic dishonesty charges. Tasha, flipping through her law books, pipes up. And hidden cameras are legal in common areas of our own home, right? Should be fine, Mike replies. We spent the next hour setting up cameras in strategic spots around the house. As we finished, I heard the sound of Karen's car pulling up. Quick, act natural, I hissed, and we scrambled to look busy just as Karen walked in. Her eyes narrowed suspiciously. Well, isn't this cozy? I didn't realize we were hosting a study group, she sneered. I forced a smile. Just getting some help with my thesis. You know, the one you think I'm too lazy to finish. Karen's lips tightened. Watch your tone, young lady. I'm only looking out for your best interests. She left the room, and Tasha leaned over, whispering, Dan, she's good. Almost believed her myself. Over the next few weeks, we gathered evidence. Karen's snide comments, her accidental deletion of important emails, even her attempt to impersonate me on the phone to cancel my internship. It was all caught on camera. One evening, I overheard Karen on the phone in the kitchen, her tone dripping with disdain. Yes, I'm telling you, she's a complete nightmare. Always causing drama, always the victim. John's too blind to see it, but I'm at my wit's end, she said. I felt a presence behind me. Turning, I saw my dad, his face a mix of confusion and hurt. Liv, what's going on? He asked. Taking a deep breath, I replied, Dad, there's something I need to show you. We went to my room, and I played the footage we collected. Dad watched in stunned silence as Karen's true nature was revealed. I can't believe this, he murmured. How could I have been so blind? It's not your fault, Dad. She had us all fooled. I reassured him. He pulled me into a hug. I'm so sorry, kiddo. I should have believed you. Just then, my phone buzzed. It was Tasha. Liv, you won't believe what I found. Karen's got a history of this behavior, statements from ex-colleagues, even former stepkids. We've got her. I looked at Dad, a wave of determination washing over me. It's time to end this, once and for all. I stood before the university board, my heart pounding but my resolve unshaken. The room was silent as I presented our evidence. Videos, emails, phone records, all proving Karen's deception. As you can see, I concluded, my stepmother has engaged in a deliberate campaign to sabotage my academic career. I hope this clears any doubts about my integrity. The board members exchanged glances, and the dean cleared his throat. Miss Parker, we owe you a profound apology. Rest assured, we will be investigating this matter thoroughly. You'll have an extension for your thesis submission, of course. Relief washed over me, but I knew this was just the beginning. Back at home, I found Dad confronting Karen. How could you do this to my daughter? To our family? His voice was cold. Karen's face twisted with indignation. John, surely you don't believe these ridiculous accusations. I stepped forward, phone in hand. It's all here, Karen. Every lie, every scheme. Game over. Her facade crumbled. You ungrateful little brat. After everything I've done for this family? Pack your things and get out, Dad said firmly. My lawyer will be in touch about the divorce. Karen stormed out, hurling insults as she left, but I felt a weight lift from my shoulders. The fallout was swift. Karen's reputation in the community crumbled, and she lost her job when her boss learned of her unethical behavior. Former victims came forward, revealing a pattern of manipulation in her past. Meanwhile, I threw myself into finishing my thesis, and the day I submitted it felt like a victory, not just for me, but for everyone who'd ever been doubted or undermined. Graduation day arrived, and as I accepted my diploma, I spotted Dad in the crowd, beaming with pride. Next to him were Mike and Tasha, cheering loudly. Later at the celebration dinner, Dad raised a toast. To Olivia, who taught me the true meaning of strength and perseverance. I couldn't be prouder. I blinked back tears. Thanks, Dad. I couldn't have done it without you guys. As we talked about my new job offer and plans to move out, my phone buzzed. It was Karen. Olivia, please, can we talk? I want to make amends. I stared at the message, then decisively pressed block. Everything okay? Mike asked, noticing my expression. I smiled, looking around at the people who truly cared about me. Yeah, I said, feeling lighter than I had in ages. Everything's perfect. As I drifted off that night, I felt a peace I hadn't known in years. The road ahead felt bright, full of promise, and for the first time in a long time, I was excited to see where it would lead. Karen and her toxicity were behind me. My future was mine. What a journey, right? Now that you've heard my story, I have a question that's been bugging me. If you were in my shoes, would you ever forgive Karen? She tried to sabotage my career, tear apart my family, and even compromise my future. Forgiveness, people say, is often more for the person doing the forgiving. It's supposed to bring you peace, help you let go of resentment, and open a path to moving forward. But is there a point where someone's actions cross a line into the unforgivable zone? Karen's behavior wasn't just about being petty, it was toxic on another level. Yet she's human, right? Maybe she has her own unresolved issues or insecurities that fuel her actions. But is understanding someone's reasons for their behavior enough to forgive? Or is it okay to choose not to forgive and move forward by cutting ties? So, what do you think? Is there ever a point where cutting someone out completely is better than forgiving them? Or should we always strive to forgive, even if we don't forget? Drop your thoughts in the comments.